Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting of the Fargo School Board to order. Thank you for coming out on such a lovely summer evening, and to all of our audience members, welcome. I'd like approval of the agenda. Jim?
I move adoption of the agenda with the addition of an HR addendum on the consent agenda, item 8B.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign. Thank you. Passed. Correspondence.
I don't have any correspondence at this time for you.
Does anyone else have any correspondence to share at this time? Okay, thank you. Recognition of the audience. We have no one signed up this evening, so thank you to all the audience members for just coming to watch. Staff reports. Dr. Gross, let's start with you.
Thank you very much. At your table, there is a document that says Boundary Adjustment Communication Plan. Since the last time we were together and the boundary adjustments were approved, a team of principals, other district leaders, Anna Marie Campbell and some of the communication team got together to begin to draft the communication plan, how we would share that information with our parents. And we're just providing this information for you as a draft tonight. We are looking at everything from direct mailing, and you can see from that document that we are thinking right after the school year begins, around September 8th, to do that mass mailing. That way there would be no confusion between the start of the school year and the new boundaries. We will definitely, before that time though, pull together our educational staff from the different buildings so that everyone in the office will have the correct information. They'll be able to answer the questions that some of our patrons might have or the phone calls they may receive. We've talked about how we will update our website with 2 different boundary lookups, one for the current year and then one for the new boundaries, so that parents will be able to access that information right from the site. A little bit on the different newsletters that we plan to put information in, and you can see everything from our own newsletters, Journey, to some of the neighborhood association newsletters if possible, the City of Fargo newsletter, and so on, so that we can get this information out as quickly and to as many people as possible. On the back of that document, it talks about some of the social media opportunities that we plan to use to share that information, and then also the idea of setting up presentations at each of the buildings that are impacted by that decision and some of the changes. And those meetings then will be done in conjunction with some of the PTA meetings, and Dr. Agri or myself will be present to share some of that information as we move forward. And then finally on that page, you'll see the other print pieces that we are planning at this time to use as ways to get the information out. Then the second page of that document is the current petition process. During the meeting that I had with the principals, we talked about the petition process, and what we wanted to do is give a little bit more detail or clarity to that process. So on the back of this document, you will see a flow chart. This is a draft of the process that we would like to use as we go through either allowing for or, if in some cases, denying petitions, but making that very public so that everyone knows the process in which we will go through and all the decisions or all the questions we will ask as we try to grant as many of the petitions as we possibly can. So that was just an update of where we're at, what we've done up to this point, so you have that information.
Linda, excuse me.
Thank you. On your communication plan, which looks great, was there any discussion of someone being identified to write a short letter to the editor? Because sometimes that's the one thing that people actually do see. I mean, some of these things you have to be kind of looking for, but just a short explanation of where to find the information, and maybe a reminder that the middle school and high school has been, postponed so that it can go through this public input process.
That was not something that we've discussed, but I can see Anne Marie is making notes. I think that'd be a great addition to that plan.
Does anyone else have any questions for Dr. Gross? Okay, thank you very much.
I have one other question. This petition process flowchart is fascinating. Is this already visible online somewhere? Has this been a public document before?
It has not been a public document up until this time. These are the questions that many of our principals use as they go through the process. We wanted to put it on paper. We wanted to be able to share it with our public so they know exactly why, if a petition needed to be denied, what the reason was. And we will then be sharing this first with the rest of the elementary principals, make sure that we have not missed anything, and then make that public.
Thank you. Anyone else change their mind, have any additional questions? Okay, Rachel? Brock?
Nothing.
Anne Marie? No. Dr. Schatz?
Just an update again on construction and projects that we have going on in the district. The HVAC projects continue on, of course. We have pretty good success with all of our projects with regard to the timeline and where we're at. A few things that have come up with a couple of the projects is certain pieces of equipment and things like that maybe being delayed, but for the most part, all the projects are moving forward pretty well. The biggest concern right now is Claire Barton, where things have just not moved along as quickly as we need them to. And so Jim Free and his crew have been talking to the appropriate people, and hopefully we're going to get that moving along. But we still feel that we're in line here to be set to go for school. So, but that is every week Jim is at the meetings for all 6 projects and is closely monitoring that along with Mr. Wavra from One Engineering. And so they are in close contact all the time. So that's the HVAC projects. As far as the Ed Clap project, of course, the rain is slowing everybody down a little bit, but we're about 2 weeks behind, but that is not a concern at this point. That's typical this time of year where you run into this type of weather and you're going to get behind a little bit. If you remember the Davies project, we had the same situation almost exactly like that in June. But things are moving along. You're going to start to see walls go up now on particularly the south side. The other thing that you're going to see is that the city is starting to work on the road, the entry road and the road that will go along where the school will be and then along where the church is. And it looks like they will be able to get in and put all of that in and have that complete by time snow flies this year. That's the game plan right now. And so that would be really good because then the transportation piece and the movement of vehicles and things like that will be very good. So moving along nicely and no real concerns on that side either. So that is where we're at with those major projects. And if you have any questions, I'll try to answer them.
Anyone have any questions? Okay. Thank you, Dr. Schatz. Any other staff reports that anybody saw? Okay, thank you. Board reports. July 17th board retreat at Blue Stem. As promised, the exciting agenda for you all. There will be some additional documents sent out next week via email for in supplement to the agenda, and there will be hard copies, though, of anything over the email at the retreat. And just as a reminder, it's at the Starion Room at Blue Stem, beginning with breakfast at 7:30. So come hungry. And there will be plenty of coffee for those coffee drinkers who need that. Any questions at this time about the retreat? Okay. The board picnic. Jim.
Thank you. I'm sure you're all busy out there getting some contributions for our door prizes. And for the soon-to-be seated board members who may not be real familiar with this, about a decade ago, the school board decided to institute a summer picnic to really recognize our year-round employees and any other staff that happens to be working in the district on the day the picnic is actually held. And we will have probably someplace between 150, 200 plus employees over at Oak Grove Park. Board members don't have to do the preliminary work, but we do the cooking of the chicken and the burgers and ultimately hand out some door prizes and just basically meet all of our year-round staff, say hi to them, thank them for their service. And one of the things that we as board members do in preparation for this is to go out to area businesses you may know and ask them if they'd be kind enough to contribute something for a door prize. Could be a gift certificate, could be, you know, a T-shirt, whatever they may have. And just to show you how this works, if you go out and you get some things from area businesses, once you get them, you bring them over to the board secretary, and then she stores them up and brings them to the picnic, and also gets a list together to send out a thank you note. So with about 200+ people showing up, we really would like to have at least half the group end up with some kind of door prize, which means if we'd all just go out and collect like 10, 15 different items, we'll be good to go. So please make sure, whether you're stepping down from the board or new to the board, we're recognizing them for all of the work they've done and all of the work they're going to continue to do, and the more prizes, the better.
Thank you. Robin?
I have to say something. So do we get to roast Rick as he leaves tonight?
Well,
Okay.
well, just wait till we get to that part of it on the
Okay.
agenda.
I'm just making fun of his eyebrows. Rick barbecued one year
Oh,
himself.
anything else, Jim? Okay. Committee and liaison reports. Why don't we stick with you, Jim, and go around?
GAC committee has not met, but we did send on the resolutions that were approved by the board at our last meeting to the state, and those will be taken up by the state GAC committee, which will be meeting sometime in August. I don't think that date's been set yet. And hopefully state GAC will forward our two on with their support as well for the state conference.
Nothing, Madam President.
Rick?
Planning is not met, but Brock and I did talk, and on the consent agenda, there is a proposal for a budget adjustment, and that we've talked about. That's about it.
Okay. Chris?
I just wanted to quickly share that the autism legislation that we worked on in the last session has started to be implemented, and one of the things that is available as of this past week for families with kids on the autism spectrum between the ages of 3 and 17 is a $12,000 voucher per family. There's an income requirement, but it's intended for supplemental services and assistive technology, so iPads and apps and all sorts of things that can really help our kids when they're not receiving services in school, and to sort of, you know, provide some of the things that families can't afford for those kids. So I just, if you get any calls, Tricia Page is the woman in charge at the Department of Human Services who's working on that, and I think it would be really fantastic if it's appropriate, if the administration thinks it's appropriate to send something out to our families. So maybe talk to the special ed director about that, just so families know that it's available.
Thank you. Paul?
Turn on my microphone, actually. Had a chance last week to attend the Trollwood Sun Celebration out at the Blue Stem area, and once again was reminded what an effective, successful program we not only have this year, but have had for many years, both in North Fargo and the South Moorhead. It was very exciting to see so many young people come together and perform, and see the looks of excitement, not only on the young people's faces, but on their directors and coaches' faces, who I think show a lot of personal interest in what's going on. Just here to confirm what a successful adventure the whole summer theater and summer class program is. I also had an opportunity to attend a couple of other events out at Trollwood, you know, purely for academic reasons, the Beach Boys and that kind of a thing. But I think it's a real tribute to our administration, a number of members who have worked hard to ensure that the whole Blue Stem project lives up to all of the quality that it can. The concert program seems to be working very well, and respectful crowd and great performances, and the weather for the most part has cooperated. So anyway, great time at Blue Stem, and you know, it's so funny what a difference a year or two can make, because kinds of commentary and talk about Blue Stem, and it's certainly hitting on all cylinders.
Thank you. Linda? Robin?
Communications did not meet. I did provide a little update, however, to the Horace Mann Neighborhood Association through Jim Free. They wanted an update for their newsletter on the progress of the HVAC systems at Horace Mann, so I gave that. And a little bit of an aside here, with my full-time job at the Youth Commission, we're in a lot of the schools, as is the Y, and we have purchased security systems for each of the programming areas. We're typically in a multipurpose room or a gym for before and after school programming. And so worked very closely with Rachel and her team, and we purchased the hardware for these security systems. So now my staff can actually buzz people in at the front door. So the schools should be secure past the 4 o'clock when the staff is gone. And our staff was trained very effectively by district staff and the Simplex or whatever, did I get that right, system. So it seems to be working well. And our parents at the Youth Commission are very thankful for that. So that's what we're doing within the schools.
Thank you. I guess that brings us to the president's report. This is mostly dates, most of which I think you guys all know. But you remember that at the last meeting, we talked about the November 11th meeting falling on a Tuesday and Veterans Day being a school holiday and no staff day. So after polling board members, it will be moved to the November 12th, which is the Wednesday. So we'll have that out there as much as possible because it's not our usual board meeting night. So put that on your calendars. And then several other important dates in the coming weeks. Today is your last chance, if you haven't already, replied to Anne Marie about attending the board staff night at Trollwood, How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying. I'm told it's very, very good. So hopefully people will be able to join us. And that's incoming as well as outgoing board members. So we hope you'll join us. And also just a thank you for letting me serve you as your president this past year. It's been a pleasure. And thank you. Yes, sorry.
I would like to encourage a round of applause for your service. I think you did a great job.
Oh, not necessary, not necessary. Thank you. Thank you very much, not necessary. Are there any other board reports that anyone wants to share that we've missed? Oh, John?
Madam President, members of the board, we have one exiting board member birthday.
Oh.
And I think Rick Steen's name's already off the website. Good thing I have my own calendar. Happy birthday, Rick. And and we'll miss you here, these July 11th birthdays. We have 2 other birthdays around the corner. We'll mention them at the retreat, but Jennifer Benson and David Paulson's are right next in line. And Jim Johnson, of course, too.
Well, thank you. I also wanted to mention, I didn't forget David tonight. He's here, but told me that he didn't have a specific report. So we're glad to have you tonight. Thank you for being here and taking time away from your summer. We're not officially supposed to be here, so we're glad to have you. The next is the fun part, appreciation of retiring board members. And I'd like to call upon Paul for a special.
Dinah, we have something else first.
Oh.
Yes, we do.
I beg your pardon? Oh,
We have appreciation for the president.
oh, okay, sorry, go ahead.
Well, Dinah, I get to do this tonight, so I was gonna say, it's been a pleasure, working with you this last year and the last 8 years as well. And I'll read what's written here, and then I'll provide you with the plaque. Dinah, it's been a tremendously busy year for the board. We have appreciated the time you have given to the board as your role as president. You always have the best interest of every student in the district in mind as you tackle issues as a board member. This year, we finalized the long-range facility plan after more than a year of work. This plan has provided a guide for many board decisions this year, including building Ed Clapp Elementary School and installing air conditioning in 6 of our elementary schools. Further, we have a roadmap for the future for our schools with our 10-year operational maintenance plan. Another major focus of this school year was a public vote on the district's mill levy. As the board's spokesperson, you dedicated a great deal of time to speaking with citizens and presenting to groups about the vote. While the board did not receive the outcome it had hoped for, you represented the board well in the public. Most recently, you guided the board through a review of the district's boundaries. The board received public response to the proposals and ultimately decided to postpone any decision on the secondary boundaries until more public input can be received. Dinah, we recognize that the success of this board is contingent on the leadership, vision, and commitment of its president. We are grateful for the time and attention you have given this role. Thank you. On behalf of the board, I will present you this plaque.
Oh.
Dinah Goldenberg for achievements on behalf of the students, employees, and citizens of the Fargo Public School District through outstanding leadership as president of the Fargo Board of Education, 2013-2014.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. Paul?
Thank you, Dinah. It's my pleasure today to talk a little bit about Chris Wallman, who, as we all know, will be leaving the board tonight. Chris, today your 4-year term on the Fargo School Board draws to a close. During your time on the board, you have been a very strong advocate for at-risk students, ensuring that they receive the best education and attention that the district can provide. You champion offering an equitable education to all Fargo students, wanting parity of services and accommodations in all Fargo schools, and something that I think we would agree is all very commendable and desirable. Your desire to roll up your sleeves and dig into board and district work has been commendable, and I know that the whole board would agree with that. You served on the Governmental Affairs Committee, the Communications Committee for 3 years, always wanting to be a good steward of the district's resources. Your voice on the Planning Committee as well has been valuable the last 2 years. We're also a member of the 2013 negotiations team, which was fun all the time, and we're the board liaison to the Council for District Improvement for your entire team. You, as well as anyone, demonstrate yourself to be a lifelong learner. You provide the board regularly with educational research that we probably wouldn't find anywhere else, and interesting articles. You always seem to be a strong proponent for board professional development, and I know from sitting next to you, you've attended many conferences and seminars, including the North Dakota School Boards Association, the National School Boards Association, FRN, and have even presented over the course of your term at the North Dakota School Boards meetings. Thank you for your service to the Fargo Public Schools, Chris, and thank you for your voice at the board table. You have pushed the boundaries very well so that the board has a better view and a stronger understanding for the students that we all have the privilege of serving. And pretty exciting to be able to say, I think, that we also wish Chris the best as she takes her passions to Bismarck and represents Fargo's District 11 in the legislature, and hopefully will also remember her strong ties to the Fargo School Board and the Fargo School District and get a few things done out there. On behalf of the board, I'd like to present you with this plaque. And it says, to Chris Wallman for dedicated service to the students, the staff, and citizens of the Fargo Public School District as an outstanding member of the Fargo Board of Education from 2010 through 2014. Chris, congratulations.
Thank you, Paul. Chris, did you want to say anything?
You know, this is impromptu, so I'm careful what I might say. You know, it was just a pleasure and delight and a, steep learning curve, and I've just been humbled by the folks that I've served with and the administration who go above and beyond every day for all our kids. It's just been a tremendous experience, and best 4 years. I was thinking today that my daughter was 6 years old when I started, and she's now 10, and so 4 years of our lives. It's really a family commitment when you have young kids, well, with any family and anyone. So, it was just a terrific experience. So thank you all for what you do.
Thank you, and best of luck. unfortunately, Rusty could not be here at the last minute, and I gave him a real hard time about it, but I guess the real job called. But Jim, I'd like to call on you to say something about Rusty, please.
Well, before I share that, I just want to make sure everybody realizes Tuesday's men's night at Rose Creek, which might be the real job. Rusty, tonight would be your last board meeting of your term. While you have never monopolized the discussion at the board table, your comments and contributions have always been appreciated and impactful. Your thoughts, when offered, have made us sit up and listen. Your passion has always been what's best for all students and allowing students the ability to participate in all aspects of their education, including extracurriculars. Each board member brings something different and unique to the group. Your knowledge of finance, construction, and planning has been an asset to the board. Your professional experiences have served the district well as we have built and renovated schools, developed a long-range facility plan, and worked to shape the district's financial future. You've been a member of the Planning and Communications Committee for your entire term. You have either been at the negotiating table or been ready to be there as an alternate during the last 2 negotiation sessions. You've also been the board representative on the calendar committee for the last 4 years. The foundation board has also reaped the benefits of your service in 2010 and 2011 when you were a member of that board. And a side note, he too gave up much of the hair on his hands and arms at the annual summer picnic more than once. An active Fargo resident and parent, you have attended many school functions and athletic competitions. During your time on the board, you have taken the school liaison role seriously and been an active attendant at PTA meetings. You facilitate public input well and have brought great input to all board discussions. Rusty, thank you for your contributions to the Fargo Board of Education and to the students of the district. We wish you well in all your future pursuits and that your golf game is always well under par. On behalf of the board, I would present you with this plaque, which reads about the same way as Chris's.
Thank you, Jim. Rusty asked me to read this since he wasn't able to be here tonight, so I'm sorry that I wasn't able to attend tonight's board meeting as I'm traveling for work. First of all, I want to thank my fellow board members and administrative staff for your guidance during the past 4 years. Together, we've accomplished a great deal toward building on the quality of education for our students. I would also like to give a special thanks to all our staff in the school buildings. Oftentimes, it's easy to lose sight in our board meetings where the real work is being done, and that's in the classroom. Thank you for dedicating your time and talent to educating our students and preparing them to be college and/or career ready. We've made several decisions over the past 4 years. However, I feel the most important one occurred 2 years ago when we were tasked to choose our next superintendent. I was confident in our decision at that time, and I'm even more convinced after 2 years that we unequivocally made the right choice. And I think everyone in this room will second that. Thank you, Dr. Schatz, for your leadership, vision, and commitment to everyone in the Fargo Public School system. Lastly, thank you to the current board members and the new members for your service to the Fargo Public Schools. I know that we are in good hands and will be able to face the challenges that lie ahead to continue to provide the best education possible for our students. And I thought maybe you'd like to keep that instead of, since it's such a nice compliment. Yeah, well, that was mine. I had to give it some title when I printed it in the computer. Anyway, we're sorry that Rusty couldn't be with us this evening, and he did extend his regrets to the rest of you. And now, I'm afraid last but not least, Mr. Steen, and I get to talk about you. Rick, tonight your 3rd term on the Fargo School Board ends. For 12 years, you have dedicated your time and talents to the Fargo Public Schools. In 2001, you were spurred to run for a seat on the board during boundary changes and long-range planning that affected your children. While that bid was unsuccessful, the passion and desire to be a board member ran so deep that you ran again in 2002 and won. Since then, you have been an active and impassioned board member, dedicated to offering the best programs to students and being fiscally responsible with taxpayer dollars. You are our finance man, knowing budget numbers and educational funding processes in and out. You have been on the planning committee or its predecessor, the finance committee, your entire board term, serving as chair 6 times. The knowledge of the district's finances extended to your role on the negotiations committee, which you served for 10 years and chaired 2 times. A longtime member of the governance committee or agenda committee, you have provided our board with leadership for many years. Furthermore, your knowledge of the district's financial and growth history served us well as a member of our recent long-range facility planning committee. You were also a 4-year member of the Special Assessment Task Force and served on the Calendar Committee in 2009-10. During your time on the board, both the district and the face of education has changed a great deal. The district's enrollment has declined and increased again. Schools have been built, closed, and remodeled. Land has been purchased and sold. Attendance boundaries have been shifted numerous times. New educational laws, initiatives, curriculum, and mandates have been made. Throughout your time on the board, no child left behind, adequate yearly progress, and Common Core have all become educational norms. During your tenure, you have helped shape the future of Fargo Public Schools by hiring the last 2 superintendents and the newest business manager. A simple thank you is not enough to honor your 12 years of service on this board. However, a sincere and heartfelt thank you is extended to you on behalf of all board members in the room. Best wishes to you in your upcoming campaign for a seat on the Cass County Commission. And on behalf of the board, sure yours is the same as the other one. And thank you.
Thank you.
And don't go away, because there aren't too many opportunities to have surprises, but we do have one, I hope, for you tonight with some special guests. John Martinson, Executive Director of the North Dakota School Boards Association, and Greg Allen, the President. So I'll let you take it away, John.
Thank you, Madam President. Greg Allen and I are just delighted to be here, and we thank you for the invitation to be part of this board meeting. We did, in fact, look at some cars, but we are also in Fargo for another purpose, and that is to present personally the service awards and to honor Diana Goldenberg, Jim Johnson, Paul Myers, Robin Nelson, and Rick Steen for your involvement, your service on the local, the state, and national level. There is no board, there is no school board in the state that is more active and more involved in the state association than the Fargo Board of Public Education, and we appreciate that very much. Let me give you some examples of the involvement. Your entire board attends our convention. You're noticeable and you're appreciated. A number of you have served on committees during convention. You have spoken at a variety of different conventions or seminars that we have, including a new member seminar, the negotiation seminar. You also offer resolutions. Mr. Johnson mentioned that you have in fact submitted 2 already, and we're very appreciative of that kind of involvement. I've had the good pleasure of spending some time with some of you at FRN in Washington, D.C., and at the National Convention. Your board is very involved in the legislative session. You come to Bismarck and you testify, and you extend the gracious honor to include me in the conversations that you have at your social event, and I appreciate that very much. And we're also fortunate to have Jim Johnson on our state board, one of my bosses. And we very much appreciate his insights, his leadership, his guidance, and his wisdom in helping our association move forward. So let me conclude by saying that the relationship between the State Association and the Fargo Board of Education and Dr. Schatz is strong, and it's very positive, and we appreciate that partnership. We enjoy working with you, we value you, and today we honor you for your dedication and your service. And President of the State Board, Greg Allen, is going to have some comments as well.
Well, John said all the serious stuff. And I get to just talk about the appreciation that we have for those that have served and done so well. We did tell you the truth that we are looking at cars, okay? So Jim, at our next board meeting, don't say that we lied to you. We're gonna go look at some cars. And I do wanna say, I'm on the Jamestown School Board. I've been on that board for probably 22 years now. And I just love board meetings, and that's why I'm here. I just love this stuff. But seriously, the NSBA has basically 2 levels of awards that we give out. And we look at this, the first one, which is the veteran board member, and there's where you would earn 200 points. And it really has to do with the service and some of the things that you've done and your continuing education and being a board member. The next level is the master board member. And that's another level where it's equivalent to earning 200 points as opposed to 100. And again, it looks at the service, the continuing education, and the things that you've done to help out your district and the state district. Now, I also want to say that there's a little added point that we bring in, and these awards can also come with what we call distinction. Now, distinction is where you've actually done something on a national level to be recognized. And I am proud to say tonight that the board members that we will be recognizing tonight, both those that are veterans and the master board member, are all with distinction. And that says a lot for the for the Fargo. I'm gonna get in trouble for that one. For the Fargo school board. I mean, it's pretty clear that you're involved. It's pretty clear that you take it seriously, what you do for your kids and what you do for your district. And to earn this with distinction, for each of you to earn that, to me, it's just an honor to be here and to be a part of this. And I am just so proud. And this is one of those bittersweet nights, you know, where you have some going off and you have some new people coming on with excitement. But I just really feel proud to be here. When John asked me, and I'll sit down because I know we want to shorten the meetings, but when John asked me if I wanted to come and be a part of this, there wasn't a question in my mind because I know what it is. I know about the sacrifice, and I appreciate so much those that have given so much time and effort, especially to the kids and students of your district. So we have several that we wanted to hand out tonight. First, we have 4 veteran board members. And the first is Paul Myers, and these are all with distinction. Is Paul here? There he is. Paul, come on up. On behalf of the North Dakota School Board Association, we just recognition.
Thanks, Greg. Got that, okay, good.
All right. Then the next, Robin Nelson. Then we have Rick Steen. We also have one board member who has earned the distinction of Master Board Member with distinction, and this is Mr. Jim Johnson.
You can't, she won't take all the blame for it.
And I'll just say one last thing. Again, I appreciate this board. I appreciate working with you, and I've worked with several others on this board. And it's just a privilege. And I still love being on the school board. I still love going and reading to those second graders, and that's what gives me my drive. That's why I keep coming back. And I also love having those parents who just wrap their arms around me when I'm doing everything wrong. It's just wonderful. But thank you for your time tonight. We sure appreciate you giving us this opportunity, and thank you, Diana.
Thank you, gentlemen. We really appreciate you making the effort to come out tonight. And no, Rick, I haven't forgotten to give you a chance to say a couple of words, so go ahead.
Couple of words. I have 3 pages.
I know, he told me, so sit back and relax.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead.
Well, I do have a few comments I'd like to share with my fellow board members before I leave this board meeting for the last time tonight. I'd first like to comment that I've met so many good people as a result of serving on the Fargo School Board. Most I am sure I would not have had the opportunity to meet if it wasn't for being on this board. Some of the past board members I would like to thank for serving with include Dan Fremling, Meg Paldo, and Laura Carley, each of whom I learned so much from over the course of my involvement and their involvement on the board. I would also like to acknowledge Dr. Flowers as the first superintendent that I worked with on this board for his leadership through our developing of the long-range facility plan, which we approved back in 2002 or 2003. I still remember one of my first one-on-one meetings with David when I talked about single grade configuration for all of Fargo, and his response at that time was something on the order of, "You will never get that approved in this community." That was early on in the process. I would also like to thank Dr. Baresh for his leadership in implementing and completing the long-range facility plan, including the hiring of our current superintendent, Dr. Schatz, as the first principal of Davies High School. I will also say that I have enjoyed serving with each of the current board members. John, although you and I don't agree on all of the issues, I have always admired your passion and commitment to improving the education for our kids. You are a dreamer and often offer a different perspective on topics. You are never afraid of putting an idea out there to at least make the rest of us think about it. I truly appreciate the dynamics you bring to this board. Jim, you are one of 2 current board members who were on the board when I first came in 2002. I have learned so much over the years and consider you somewhat of a mentor regarding policy governance and school board finance. You led the district several times as school board president and led the design of how this board operates today. I truly appreciate your leadership over these last 12 years. Dinah, congratulations on being reelected to the Fargo Board of Education. Thank you for your leadership over this last year and your friendship over these last 8 years that we have been on the board together. I have always appreciated your demeanor and approach with people, especially regarding controversial issues. It has been a pleasure working with you and getting to know you. Robin, I believe that you have been on the school board approximately 11 years, and we have worked on various committees together over that time. You add a very business-like approach to this board, and I, for one, have appreciated that. One of the benefits of working with you on this board is that I was able to get to know you and encourage you to apply for the position of executive director at the Boys and Girls Club of the Red River Valley. So I can look forward to continuing working with you as a member of that board. Linda, congratulations to you as well for being reelected to the board. Your prior experience in the Fargo City Commission provided this board with another perspective and understanding and addressing issues. I have truly appreciated your support and advice over the last 4 years. Paul, you are the longest current surviving board member that I have had the pleasure of working with. You always seem able to provide a balance to the board discussions, even sometimes on the light side, and also provide for a little levity in a meeting at the appropriate time. I've always found it enjoyable working with you on this board and appreciated the experience you bring to the board as a former educator. And just to clarify, I was not one of Paul's former students. Chris, you and I did not see eye to eye on a number of issues these last 4 years, but I was always impressed with your passion and compassion for kids and their education. You shared with me a couple of quotes that I will remember. The first one was a quote by Harry Truman, which is, "It is amazing how much you can accomplish when it doesn't matter who gets the credit." Which I think can go a long way on working with a board of 9 members. The second quote you shared with me was by Senator Paul Wellstone, who said, "We will all do better when we all do better," which I know we can apply when looking at providing equity in education for all of the kids, especially those at risk and under-resourced children. I truly appreciate what I learned from you during your time on the board. I would also like to congratulate you on your more than likely election to the state legislature. I'm confident you will do well representing the people of Fargo and the state as a whole. Brock, what an enjoyable experience getting to know you and working with you as the business manager for the district over the last few years. You have been a great addition to the district staff. I like your attitude and your position, especially what I would call doing the right thing and doing it right. It has been a real pleasure, and I will truly miss working with you. Rachel and Bob, what an excellent pair of assistant administrators to have at the Fargo School District, not only for our students and educators, but as a resource for our board. Your assistance in working through curriculum and most recently attendance area issues is greatly appreciated. Anne-Marie, a huge thank you for all your assistance to the board, as well as to individual members of the board, and also for keeping us out of trouble. We really wouldn't function very well without you. Dr. Schatz, I personally want to thank you for your leadership these last couple of years, especially through the recent long-range facility planning process and now the attendance area realignment process. I would also like to thank you for your willingness to meet individually with the board members to gather feedback and input. I also look forward to watching the new strategic plan take shape over the next year. To the new board members, Rebecca, Jennifer, and David, congratulations on being elected, but more so, thank you for running for this position and accepting the responsibility of shaping the education of the future adults and leaders of Fargo. What a great opportunity it is to positively impact the quality of education for the children of our community. I hope each of you enjoyed being on the Fargo Board of Education as much as I did. I would like to thank my children, Jenna and Alex, each of whom I was able to hand to them their diploma, and my wife Lori for their patience and support as I campaigned for and fulfilled the duties of being on this board for 12 years. I could not have done it without their support. Lastly, I would like to thank the many friends and acquaintances who offered support, encouragement, and advice over the last 12 years. It has been invaluable. And finally, I want to thank the people of Fargo for being such strong supporters of the Fargo School District and for being a community which sees the value in providing a quality education for our children. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you on behalf of those of us who are staying to the 3 of you who are leaving. We wish you all the best in your future endeavors, and you will definitely be missed, and always welcome to sit in the audience and come and share your opinions, whether it's publicly or privately. And thank you so much for your service and commitment to the students of this district. And now I would like to take a 5-minute break and welcome our 3 new board members, Jennifer Benson, Rebecca Knudsen, and David Paulson, to take seats at the table and invite our outgoing board members to stick around and watch the excitement from a different perspective. Thank you. To order, if people could please take their seats. Okay, thank you very much, and welcome to our newest board members, Jennifer Benson, Rebecca Knudsen, and David Paulson. We look forward to your input and being part of this board. So just before I hand over the reins to Dr. Schatz for the next part, I just want to say thank you again for letting me serve as your president for the last year. It's been a very rewarding year, and I appreciate your support and patience with me. And that's about it, I guess. Dr. Schatz.
At this time, I would call on the canvassing committee report, and I'm going to ask Jim Johnson to do that.
Thank you. I guess maybe I should talk a little bit about how this works for our new members. The non-officers of the governance committee make up what we call the canvassing committee, and those are the chairs of the GAC committee, the communication committee, and the planning committee. And it is our job to ask all of the eligible board members if they're interested in serving as either of the officers, president or vice president. Whoever expresses a desire, we put their name forward. So it's not a filtering process. It's more to make sure we have somebody that's willing to serve in these capacities. So at this point in time, we have 2 candidates for the position of president and 2 for vice president. For president, Dinah Goldenberg and Robin Nelson. For vice president, Linda Boyd and Paul Myers.
Thank you, Jim. And at this time, we'll consider the position of the president, and I would ask for any other nominations that might come from the floor. Any other nominations from the floor? Last chance. Any nominations from the floor? Okay, not hearing any other additions to the 2 that have been presented. I would ask that Brock and Anne Marie hand out the ballot, and we'll vote on that position.
You want mine too? Thanks.
Okay, so at this time, I would announce that Robin Nelson has been elected as your next president. So, Robin?
Congratulations.
Right, there you go. Thank you, Dinah. right, I'm back on here. Now, our next election ballot will be cast for vice president, and we have Linda Boyd and Paul Myers. So same fashion, I assume? Go ahead. Oh, that's right. I'm already fumbling up here. 3 times. Any nominations from the floor? Any nominations for the floor? Are there any nominations from the floor? Very good. The vice president for the Fargo Board of Education for the upcoming year is Linda Boyd. All right, next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. We need a motion for that to be approved. Jim?
I move adoption of the consent agenda with the HR addendum addition.
That's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the consent agenda, please vote by saying yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, no. Consent agenda is approved. Business item on the agenda, the lone item, is the Building Authority membership. With that, we will have to, there's a memo number 5. And every year we have at least one Building Authority meeting to approve the leases for the payment for the prior year. Jim is the current president. Do you have anything you want to enlighten us with there, Jim?
A motion if you're ready for one.
I'm ready.
I move that we submit the names of the 9 current board members along with Brock Leitz and Jeff Schatz as the 11 candidates for consideration on the Fargo Building Authority Board.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second?
Any discussion on this item? Jim?
The reason we do this first here before we get to the Building Authority is you're not required to serve on the Building Authority Board by virtue of being elected to this board. So this would be the opportunity, if you did not want to serve on the Building Authority Board, to have your name removed before it's submitted to the Building Authority in just a few short minutes for its consideration.
Well, we have a motion and a second on the floor to approve the 9 board members for the Fargo School District Building Authority. Any further discussion on that item? Being there's no discussion, and all those in favor of the motion, please vote by saying yes. Yes. Any opposed, no. Motion carries. All right. And it looks like that is the last meeting on this meeting agenda. So our next regular board meeting will be August 12th. Of course, we'll be meeting for the board retreat on July 17th, so you'll see us all prior to that date. Before we go into the Building Authority meeting, any debriefing items, general items for discussion about how everything went tonight. It kind of was a big party. Any comments from the board that anyone would like to share? Okay. That being said, I call this meeting of the Fargo School Board to adjourn. And then we will reconvene momentarily for the District Building Authority.